Hare Krishna. Hello, everybody. How are you all doing? I've seen many of you before, many times, but who here is here for the first time? Who's new? Wow, very cool. Well, welcome to our Bhakti Night program. As Hadai mentioned, I'm going to be speaking on Beyond the Grind, a different kind of joy. But before I speak, I'm just going to say a few prayers, if that's all right with everybody. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Devamrita Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prasharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So many of you were chanting along, so you've heard this prayer before. But for those who aren't familiar, what we do is we essentially pray to the previous teachers in our line. And the reason we do this is what we present isn't anything new. We're not concocting anything fancy. We're not coming up with any new philosophy. Rather, we're simply presenting ancient knowledge as it is, but in a way that's relevant for modern times. You see, technology is advancing like anything. There's all this constant change, but us as human beings, we're pretty much the same as we've been for thousands of years. The same struggles, stresses, anxieties we face that have been solved by these ancient wisdom literatures, these solutions still apply now. So we pray to our teachers, please let me present this knowledge in a way that's suitable without changing anything, adulterating anything, simply giving it to you in a way that works for your life situation as it is now. And so this talk, Beyond the Grind, a different type of joy, it starts off with a pretty simple idea. Everybody wants to be happy. Anybody disagree, have a different goal in life? You're not trying to be happy. It's natural. It's an inherent part of us that happiness, essentially for any living being, we're pleasure seeking by nature. All of our endeavors, directly or indirectly, are in the pursuit of happiness, whether we're trying to provide for loved ones or we're trying to create something. It's all meant to bring us some kind of inner joy. But if this is a natural thing for us, why is it so hard to find satisfying long-term happiness? We find flickering happiness in the things we do, but ultimately finding a sustainable sense of inner peace, inner happiness, inner joy, it's like a constant struggle, especially in a city like New York City. And so one way to view it is there are many, many different ways that we look for happiness. But one can ask themselves, if it's so difficult, perhaps we're looking in the wrong places. Perhaps our search and all the endeavors that we're doing, they're only giving us temporary pleasure. Perhaps we're not actually trying to find it in the right place. And so since we're going to be talking about it, I'd like to kind of like define it, right? What is happiness? If you could put words to it, how would you describe this thing called happiness?
There's a difference between happiness and joy. I think joy is easier to find. You just have to be in tune with your inner spirit and know how to find that joy and generate it. I think it just comes from within and from simple things.
How would you compare that to happiness? That's really nice. Like it's inherent. It comes out of you, not something you acquire from outside when you speak of joy.
I don't know, the difference. I think joy is more easily attainable. I think because I don't know. I think happiness it's a kind of a relative. It depends on everyone's different and everyone has different wants and needs. And happiness maybe is it's subjective. I guess maybe because people get happiness through different avenues or different by fulfilling certain wants and needs within yourself. Maybe because I mean I don't know. I feel like happiness and joy come from for me through relationships with the people I love.
Yeah, very nice. But there's different
Inner
qualities.
peace and inner joy and self-love.
Very nice. Does anybody else have any thoughts or kind of views on what happiness is?
Maybe happiness depends on things outside of us, whereas joy is more us. We're in control, and in happiness, it's not just us. It has to be like the environment and us.
Like inner natural happiness versus something where you have to chase outside externally to acquire it, to bring it.
Well, it's in us, like togetherness. Something in us that, like money. Money will bring me happiness, but love will bring me joy.
Very nice point. Yeah, we'll actually cover this as we go a little further down, the difference between happiness that comes from connections and relationships versus things, dead matter. And so everybody, like you mentioned, has different sources of happiness. Like everybody has some different activities they engage in. Some people, their source of happiness is from raising their children. Some people, it's in extreme sports. Some people, it's in music. Some people, it's in fighting. So just out of curiosity, what are some of the things that you all derive joy from? Some of the areas, things that you engage in that bring you some sense of happiness, some sense of joy. Nice. What do you like about meeting new people?
I have a certain philosophy that every person is an undiscovered island. So if I want to meet that new person, I have to traverse that undiscovered island.
Nice. Every meeting is like an exploration opportunity. You're a whole universe that I haven't explored, and now I can unlock that and learn something from it and enjoy that experience. Wonderful. Very nice. Thanks. Does anybody else have any activities? What do you?
Like creating art, like being creative and artistic. Yeah.
Nice. Expressing yourself through some kind of beautiful medium, whether it's dance or very nice.
Or I feel like letting the divine express through me. Sometimes you don't even know what's gonna come out, but it feels aligned. So it feels, I guess you could say, it seems like happiness, but it just feels like contentment, like alignment. Like this is what you're made to do, or so peaceful. So
As you do it, you just feel good. There's no reason. You can't sit there and explain because of this, this, and this. I feel good.
Right.
I just feel good because I do it. Nice.
Achievements. Like I was trying to edit something on Amazon. I was trying to do some editing, and technology is not easy for people our age. And when I was successful, finally, after hours, I know a young person will do it in 5 minutes. It'll take an hour or two. But I achieved it.
Right. And so then there's another quality of happiness, aside from where we get it from, is how long does it last? There are those, what is it, that, as you mentioned, Monte, like there's happiness and joy. I've also heard it described, happiness and pleasure. So how long does the happiness that we're acquiring from the things we do last? Whether it's a promotion or, someone just landed, into a prestigious college like Harvard or won the lottery. It's a jolt, but how long does it last? And then like relationships, that's another type of happiness. How long do these things last? And so something that you actually alluded to is happiness is our natural state of being. It's not something you have to earn. It's just a part of who you are. And you can see it too. You look at kids, right? How hard does a kid have to work to be happy? Do they have to go to school or learn positive psychology to be happy? You give a kid a sandbox and some time, he's got a whole adventure. Then what happens when we get older? Like, I'm 32 now. Why do I have to? Well, now it's a lot easier because I live here with some really nice people. But back when I was in the working world in corporate America, it just felt like everybody was working like 80, 90, 100-hour weeks to be happy. Well, why do you have to work that hard when you start off with it just being something you do spontaneously? It's when you look at it, happiness bubbles up naturally if there's nothing blocking it. The only reason we're not all sitting here in full bliss is because there are things that have come onto us as we grew up that are blocking our natural state of being. And it's interesting. Stress, fears, external pressures. It's like you can never make money being creative. You need to get a real job. Or like, your value is only determined by your last work, your last effort. So you got to keep working. These things completely block who you are naturally. You just start getting in your head. And all of that beautiful natural state of being choked off. And now you got to work super hard for fleeting moments of pleasure. And you actually gave a talk, Lewis, that was really nice. It kind of, again, alludes to this, where you were talking about the NASA study. So there's a study on NASA where it said, what did it say about kids? Like,
It was talking about creativity, but it's kind of similar. It says
Yeah.
like by age like 2, like 99% of kids were like geniuses, creative wise. By age 10, it's like 50%, and by age 30, it's like 2%. So kind of the same again. Those layers that block that natural state of.
yeah, it was amazing when I heard that. NASA did a study. Kids naturally have creativity, and happiness is also there too. And as they grow up and they get more socialized, it just starts falling apart until when they're adults, it's just gone.
Like the older we get, the more unhappy we become.
Yeah. It's like really tragic. And I mean, even with us, we can take a second and think about it. We're all grown and we all have our struggles, but like how many of you have had situations where you're just sitting around relaxing, maybe even sitting on a bench in the park, just like looking at nature, and you just feel good for no reason, right? Like, did you have to do anything special? Do you have to achieve something? No, you're just sitting there looking at birds chirping at each other and you just feel good. Wow, it's such a nice day. Wow, the sun's so nice. Wow, look at all this. Wow, the air is so nice. It comes up in us spontaneously too. We can't hold it because, again, we have these layers of gunk that we've taken on, but it's in there. And so something that's really nice that's spoken in our ancient wisdom literature, like Bhagavad Gita, and particularly this one, this quote comes from something called the Vedanta Sutra. I don't know if anybody's heard of this. It's the ancient text that kind of talks about the essence of the philosophy of yoga. And it says, Ananda Mayo Bhyasat, all living beings are by nature full of bliss. That means me, that means you, that means all of us. And our very nature is joy. It's not because of anything we achieve, it's literally what we are. Constitutionally, we're made of happiness. And this grind for happiness that we have to essentially go through in the working world, this extreme struggle just to find some kind of peace, to find some kind of pleasure in life, is because we're essentially searching for it in the wrong places. We're going after material pleasures. One thing I've learned through reading Bhagavad Gita and other literatures is that the right things to search to are spiritual things. And spiritual means that it is inherent to our nature and eternal. And material things are external and temporary. You cannot hold on to them. They will leave you at some point. And something I've seen is, of course, the obvious ones, validation or attention or praise or fleeting romantic relationship. Another one is job security. A lot of people are trying to find happiness in job security. And I remember when I was working, they laid off 20,000 people. And this is one time. They're doing it again now. And so 20,000 to 60,000. So it's like a 1 in 3 chance that you're going to, try to log in and it just doesn't work. And it's interesting because it's a material thing. Your job is temporary. You can have a job for a year, 2 years, 50 years, but eventually you have to give it up. So trying to find happiness, trying to find peace, trying to find security in that, it's a futile effort. It's a material thing. And so one could say material pleasures or material happiness, they're like sparks. They flare up and then they fade away. And then we just keep trying to chase after them. And there's actually this interesting term called hedonic adaptation, where even if you get that thing you're chasing after, you're going to return to your baseline level again. And there was a study they did in 1978. I think it was the University of Massachusetts and Northwestern. And what they showed is that they followed people who won hundreds of millions of dollars in the lottery. And after a few months, their happiness peaked and then it went right back to where they were. So if you're unhappy now, no matter what you achieve or what you do, you'll get a peak and you'll return right back to where you were. And so this futile effort for happiness actually lessens when we realize or when we start to develop a relationship with ourselves. Our problem is that we're disconnected from what we are, what to speak of who we are. We don't even realize what we are. And when we reconnect with our spiritual nature, this attempt to find pleasure, happiness, security in external temporary things starts to lessen. And it completely ends, and we just become happy and joyful spontaneously with no external effort when we rekindle our relationship with the divine. When we already know relationships are more fulfilling than things. A relationship you have with your kids, with your friends, with your family is better than a car or a new phone or any of that. But even better than that is a relationship with your own spiritual nature. And better than that is a relationship with the divine, what we call the absolute truth. And so it's a disconnect between the mind and the self. The mind says, this will make me happy. That'll make me happy. This one will make me happy. This one's getting on my nerves. I need to replace them with that one. I need this thing or that thing. But it never ends. It just drags us to this place or that place. And it's just a giant Ferris wheel that leads in depression and ultimately not being fulfilled, disappointment. And it's like, it's said in the Bhagavad Gita that, it's like we're riding on a chariot behind an unbridled horse, a horse that's completely out of control, and we have no power over where we're going. You just sit in horror and watch helplessly as we're dragged to the next attempt to find some kind of satisfaction. But when we connect our mind with ourself through contemplative practices, and when we can situate ourselves in that, in whatever we do, whatever we're going through, whatever casualties or traumas happen to us, when we can bring our mind to that place, then that natural happiness bubbles up. And they have that nice quote in the Bible, I think it's King David, where he says, my cup overflowing. I mean, this is for all of us. It's natural, but we have to connect these two. That thing we lost from childhood, we just connect it by a contemplative practice. And in that way, it doesn't matter what happens to us, even if we lose our job, even if we lose a loved one, God forbid we lose a limb, we can still be situated in ourselves and appreciate life, existence, relations, everything unfettered, completely. And so it's a pretty simple concept. Happiness is our natural state. It's not something we have to work for. It's inherent. We just have to unlock it. We just have to remove the barriers that are blocking it. And material things, temporary things, some of them gross and obvious, like fleeting relationships or gadgets or cars. This is obvious, but other things like a sense of security, I feel safe with this job. I did a good job. I'm intelligent. I'm this, I'm that. Trying to find shelter in these things that can't satisfy us. The only thing that can actually bring us that joy we want is spiritual connections. And the ultimate connection is, again, with the self and with the divine. And when we forget this, when our mind gets attached or distracted by so many stresses, so many difficulties, then it searches in temporary things and we don't end up with fulfillment. And our method, as we just did before, is this mantra meditation. Essentially, as Hadai mentioned, this mantra is a tool for freeing the mind. And as we chant this mantra, all of the different things that we've accumulated, traumas we've been through, or false expectations, or disappointments, whether it's from relationships, or trying to do something that didn't give you the results you want, or all of these things just start melting away, melting away, melting away. And when you get to the point where you've sufficiently purified and cleansed your mind through this mantra meditation, then happiness, it's already there. You just experience it. And then everything you do in your life is imbued with that higher state of consciousness. And as you act in the world from that state, what you get back is that same quality, happiness. And then it becomes a positive feedback loop. And then you don't have to struggle. You still have to work. It's not like, kumbaya, everything's going to be automatic. You still have to work. But happiness isn't something you work for. It's something that's just there. And now you're working to fulfill your duties in the world, but you're working on a higher platform. And so that's pretty much what I want to discuss. For those, I'm sure some of you have the literatures as well, but these books we have are all based on this Bhagavad Gita as it is, which is essentially the yoga philosophy, the science of how to control your mind and senses. Because if you control your mind and senses, then you can enter that contemplative, meditative state. And when you can do that, then you can look internally and see what you are, clear away all the gunk. And when you can do that, what bubbles up? Joy, bliss, happiness, contentment, peace. All the things we're working so hard and searching for. And then you can express that in the world and relish beautiful relationships based on that platform. And so, yes, if anybody's interested in exploring this more, again, I see many, usual faces. But anybody who's new, if this is something you're interested in exploring, finding that natural sense of joy through something free, something that doesn't require you to go outward, but lets you go internally. We have books, we have this nice community, and then we have our wonderful mantra, and we have supportive people. So you can try the experiment for people who haven't chanted before. There's nothing to lose. It's totally free. And it's meant to be experienced. You can feel it, take it in your life, come back, try again. And feel the natural bliss that's a part of your nature. And so, if anybody has any questions.
So you mentioned the spiritual pursuits, those are the ones that give everlasting fulfillment. But does that diminish or take away the 3D pursuits? For example, if I'm hungry, I get a meal and I'm satisfied. Although that satisfaction may last one day, for example. Is that still worthwhile or it's not worthwhile at all?
It's worthwhile because you have to maintain your body. So there are duties you have to perform. To exist in this body, you have to put food in it. But if you derive all your pleasure from eating, I'm sure many of you either have done or know people who stress eat. They eat and they eat and they eat and they eat to try to get over some kind of difficulty. It's like a source of pleasure for them. This destroys you. It's very bad. If you're finding pleasure in something deeper than that, you're eating to sustain yourself. You're not using it to replace anything. And so that's really the nature of it. You're not stopping doing the things you have to do. You're just not trying to derive your pleasure from them per se, explicitly. You're happy in yourself, and you're doing what you have to do to maintain your body, maintain your relationships, maintain your family, whatever you have to do, but from a higher platform. I don't need this for my joy. I'm doing it because it's a duty. And I might get some pleasure from it, but I don't need it to feel complete.
I have a follow-up. What are we defining as duty?
Well, duties could be if you're a father, you have a duty to your child. There are many fathers who don't do that duty. So one could say it's like, it's an option. You can do it or you can't do it. But it's a duty because as a father, your duty is to give a platform for this soul that you brought into the world so that they can elevate their consciousness and have a platform to develop their spirituality. And eventually, ultimately, in the yoga philosophy, we talked about the spirit being eternal. So ultimately, the goal is for someone to get a platform to elevate their consciousness spiritually so that after they leave the body, they can move on to a better destination. But if you abandon that duty, it's like it's them against the world. And they'll be so distracted by all the traumas they face that they're going to be so busy just trying to find a baseline that they can live with that they're not going to be able to focus on this kind of thing, on elevating their consciousness. They'll just be trying to survive.
We were talking earlier about how happiness is your natural state of being, and unless there's a blockage, and I think throughout life, and the older we get in our duties and stresses, that those become blockages, and sometimes they're just mental blocks. And I feel like sometimes it's like maybe comparison, like looking for joy, and I think you just really have to focus on being grateful and finding contentment. I think and peace and contentment is. I think you just have to focus on what you have to be grateful for, like just this body, my health. I do have family, and if you do have a job, you have work that sustains you and allows you to have an income, to have a roof over your head and buy food, and to maintain your body. So I think focusing on being grateful helps.
Definitely, gratitude is a huge, huge part of any kind of contemplative practice. And a big part of it is a lot of people aren't grateful because, like you said, they don't know what they have. If you know what you have, then you can appreciate it. If you're completely ignorant of it, you go and chase external things and realizing, well, you have to experience it. Again, that's why we chant the mantra. When you experience your own natural sense of joy, it's very easy to be grateful. When you can't experience happiness because you're so caught up in your mind, then how can you be grateful? You're always looking outward because your inner world is just so miserable that you're like, okay, I need to do something either to distract myself or to fill the void.
Or failing to fulfill expectations that other people, like maybe my parents have put placed upon me, or the society expects you by a certain age. Oh, you should have this and that. You should, just do whatever. I think you just have to strip it down to the bare minimum. Like if you've lost everything, if you've experienced loss and grief, pain, shame, whatever, and like say my house burned down and I had nothing and I was homeless, I would still be okay. I mean, I still have people around me. I still have, whatever faith you have, you believe in a higher power, and even if you have nothing, like I still believe I'll be okay because if I put enough good out into the world, hopefully that will come back to me, and karma will take care of me. And even if I was walking on the opposite side of the world and I was naked, like somehow I would still be taken care of somehow.
That's the relationship. Yeah. When we have a relationship with the divine, we realize I'm not in this alone, right? And a big part of, again, the idea that we're spiritual is we're eternal. This body is just one part of a very long journey. And when you have a relationship with the highest truth, you realize whatever happens to me, I have a friend who's watching over me. And when you deepen that relationship, you can feel that guidance moving you. And a big part of that is, again, you feel gratitude. And all of these pressures other people put on you, you realize they're looking at me as my daughter. This person is looking at me as their daughter. This person is looking at me as, their coworker. This person is looking at me as this, that. These things are temporary. I'm feeling so much pressure, so much stress about these things that are temporary. I'm so much more than this, and I can feel it. And then even if you have to react to these things in some kind of, whatever way you have to do, you have your job obligations. Maybe you want to keep your relationship with your mother kind of copacetic, so you manage it some way. Your internal state isn't changed by that. Your mind isn't agitated. And so internally you can feel wonderful, absolutely wonderful, even as you deal with it.
We were talking earlier. I'm sorry, talking earlier about joy and happiness. I think everything is temporary. Everything, every situation, like whether you're feeling depressed or anxious or sad or happy or joy, it's all temporary, and this too shall pass. And then you just have to sometimes be in survival mode, which I feel like I'm in a lot, and then just get through the next day. And some people that's not a good healthy state of mind or being, but like if you can get past that, I know a lot of people are grieving. There's a lot of horrible things going on in the world, but like if you can just come home to center and the divine or whatever peace and love you have inside, I think that will always carry you through. And sometimes you just have to survive to the next day.
Nice. Thank you very much. You have a question too.
I don't know if it's a question. I was thinking that something that really sold me, or was like really or unexpected about the Gita, is that we think that, or the way spirituality was presented to me before, it's like I have maybe some time in the day to do this, and then you do your other life, or you have one day in the week, you have like two lives, and you're doing your spiritual practice, but then you're kind of like just doing your duty. But actually, everything can be like you in relationship with the higher purpose, and that's actually like the art of doing it. It's like how can you connect every single relationship and every single duty to serve the higher purpose. So in this way, it's not like a practice; it's just like your lifestyle, right? It's like it's natural. It becomes natural. So maybe you can speak about that. I feel like that helps with the higher, just feeling happy because everything is connected.
Yeah, it's a really nice point. It's not separate, two separate things
Right.
where it's like, okay, I have my alter ego where I do this stuff, and then when no one's looking, now I'm spiritual. No. You know, you develop yourself spiritually, and then everything you do is imbued with that quality. The people that you interact with are touched by it. Obviously, not everybody. There's some people they're just, they're in a darker place. They're gonna be how they are, but you're almost like a walking conduit of positivity. And there are people who are going to react to that positively. And those reactions will build a relationship. And then you're going to help them either directly or indirectly. And everything you do becoming imbued with that means that your life just becomes a giant spiritual adventure. And it becomes extremely fun. And, ultimately you can start inspiring other people to take to the practice. Like, I noticed this something about you, you just seem like kind of different to other people. Like you must be doing something. And you share. You say, wow, I'm inspired. And then they try it. So, I've been dealing with this stress, this anxiety. And it's like, it just isn't weighing on me as much. And it's all because what did you do? You just did your own thing. And because who you are reflects in everything you do. If you're taking a practice that transforms you from the inside, your outside is also going to get affected. And so that's at least how I view it.
Um, I just want to say that really resonated with me. Like everything you were saying to Luis, like, because that's been an experience of my life. Like, so much. Just, it's real. It's real. And something I wanted to add was when you're talking about, children and imagination or creativity, I feel it's highly connected to imagination. And what I'm saying is that, okay, I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, but when I was very young, and you kind of gather some understanding of the world, like just a bit, and you question. And I remember I always used to ask, I mean, why do we have to pay to eat? Why do we have to pay for water? Like, why shouldn't everything just be free? Like, that was something I was always saying, right? And they were like, no, no, you don't get it. And I'm like, no, this should be free. And like you were saying, as children, we're just exploring. And I feel like, not to demonize it, I'm sure that humanity has created many things to innovate, to make things easier, to protect us from the wild and all different types of things for good reason. But it also disconnects us from that innate exploration of self, because I feel like if we were able to do those things freely without restriction, without thinking, how do I survive? I have to do this. Society says I have to those blockages. Everyone would be in alignment with their purpose and know their self and know why they're here. And I feel like that seeking of happiness is just trying to find what it is they're supposed to be doing, what fulfills you, not necessarily, you know, empty, superficial things. But I feel like when those other deterrents are there, that's all people have to reach for because they're not getting the chance to explore. And when they are exploring, it's this detrimental thing after another, you know. So that was a lot of what I was grasping from it because it's all tied in. Like I feel like when we were maybe if there was more unification, community, all over the world is different paths and beliefs and cultures and tribes and all of this, but and there's always threats. There's always the world is has its own nature and cycle of things, and but yeah, it's like when everything gets diffused, and like you said, when if you go to a park and you're looking and you're just appreciating, I think like nature, and you feel that natural innate bliss or peace or relaxation. I feel like because it starts stirring like a remembrance, like an inspiration, like wow, look all this created that is natural there. Like who did what is this? that's what we're supposed to be doing. But sometimes it's like the man-made constructs. It's kind of blinding everything. So, you know, but I feel like having awareness, like when you were talking about like eating, overeating, or other things to constantly like fill maybe per se a void of some sort, or that disconnection, right? Um, those those kinds of things are, it's just what else do people have? But if you have something that's like a mantra like this to elevate your consciousness, to make you aware, like cleansing the mind, cleansing the heart from all the clutter, from all the things that you picked up, like she was mentioning, that grounds you, centers you back into alignment, so you can have that connection again. Because we forget, like you said, like I don't know if you said like Ferris wheel, or some people call it the rat race, the hamster wheel, whether it's in the West or another place, right? It's the same thing. And when Lewis was saying about like, and you were saying as well, like maybe like not separating it, it might start out that way because of the times we live in, because it's not everyone is like, I guess, lucky enough to be born into a set kind of, structure where this is your lifestyle.
That's why we try to go on the street and help them. Yeah. Wait, how are we on for time, by the way?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like running on.
No.
I apologize.
1 minute.
Okay.
I apologize.
No, we can discuss after. This is very
Sure.
nice.
I
Yeah.
apologize.
Yeah.
It was just wow.
Yeah.
I realized what she was saying was she was talking about Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll stick around for a little. Anyone wants to discuss anything after, we can certainly. But yeah, so.
Thanks, Sindhu, for such a nice talk. Would you like to lead us in the kirtan?
I'm gonna let Krishna do it. Well, it doesn't have to be you, Krishna, if you don't want.
No, you can sing.
I've got no tunes. I haven't touched a harmonium in months. Sad face.
Krishna. No, I'll just do what I usually do. 10 minutes. Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Everyone. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare
Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Oh! Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.